The information age and web-based tools. It's going to be a brief overview on the information age and some of the tools currently available to us as web-based tools and applications, and how those are impacting management information systems as well as our use in the educational setting. Knowledge is power, and that has never been more true than it is today in the information age or the digital age that we find ourselves in. In the text by Stephen Hague and Maeve Cummings, they give an example of cell phones and change. And I know that you can think of many, many examples of how cell phones have now impacted various businesses. They talk about payphones being replaced, not so much the payphones themselves being replaced by cell phones, but how the revenue that payphones once generated for hotels and the hospitality industry, how that's been replaced largely by cell phones. You can probably think of some other industries that have been highly impacted by cell phones, especially with smartphones currently in place today, the impact that those have had on even brick and mortar stores, as people now can order things that they wish to purchase while they're nearly anywhere. Instead of stopping into a brick and mortar store, they can purchase from almost anywhere with a smartphone and web access. So think of some other examples of how technology has impacted various industries. We'll talk a little bit about how technology has impacted healthcare. In the picture that you see here, there's a picture of what looks like a video monitor and a computer type device. This comes from an article in the Huffington Post talking about how robots let doctors beam in and provide care from a remote location. Technology now in place allows physicians to not only diagnose but to treat patients that are physically far removed from them. So it's possible now for an expert in various areas to lend their expertise in the diagnosis and treatments of patients at a distance. Much like in education, technology is allowing us to conduct education to students far removed from one another as well as the instructor. The same thing is starting to happen in medicine as well. So think of the implications that this might have on patient care and on healthcare systems in general. Another example might be the use of digital x-rays and how it makes it so convenient and very expedient for a radiologist to be able to read x-rays and provide interpretations for patients far removed from their location. Think of some other impact that technologies are having on healthcare. There's a nice series in video, a very short video, about 3 minutes here, called Did You Know? And I think it provides some very fascinating information. And this is a link to the video series for 2013. We'll talk a little bit about Web 1 versus Web 2.0. Web 1.0 is the web as it was in the pre-1999 era. And in large part, there was text on the web, pictures on the web, but there wasn't a lot of interaction between the people who were viewing things and the internet content. So it was largely a passive kind of experience for users. Some refer to it as read-only web. Then at some point, shopping carts were developed so that people could purchase things. But things really broke loose around the year 1999 and after, as Web 2.0 technology started to emerge and users began to interact with the web itself and provide a lot more play and give and take with one another, a lot of use of tools for collaboration and synchronous work. And so the web as we know it now is a much different experience than that read-only kind of web. We expect to be able to input and be able to manipulate data and communicate with other users. And as an example of this, one of the devices that's really revolutionized how we work, both as managers and as educators in some cases, are ways to share documents and work files and do collaborative work, such as Google Docs, where not only can we read the document, but we can also make changes on it that others who have access to that same file will be able to see, and they can also make edits that we'll be able to see. So we can work very collaboratively among one another. So that's one example. I know that you're familiar with other technologies that allow us to collaborate and communicate with others at a distance, such as Facebook, Twitter, and many of the other social media that are now very commonplace, but prior to 1999 would not have been so. It was mostly then a read-only type of web experience. So all this interaction and ability to work collaboratively and to have a social presence online are relatively new phenomena. As we've been discussing, we are in the information age, and data are raw facts that describe a particular phenomenon, while information consists of data that have a specific meaning in a certain context. So again, data being raw facts such as heart rate, temperature, height, weight, whereas information consists of data that have a specific meaning in a certain context. If you're trying to decide what type of shoes you're going to wear, temperature being data might be utilized in a different context to make that decision based on temperature and weather, humidity, other factors, so that you select the right type of shoes, maybe a waterproof shoe versus a lightweight summer shoe if the temperature were warmer. So utilizing information in a specific context, we utilize it in a different way and it becomes information rather than just data or raw facts. Within organizations, people are the most valuable resource. In healthcare and education, people account for a large proportion of valued resources, and their compensation accounts for a rather large proportion of most organizational budgets. So people are one of the big assets in most organizations. And the third key in management information systems is information technology. Haig and Cummings define this as any computer-based tool that people use to work with information and support the information and information processing needs of an organization. So information systems, or management information systems, MIS systems if you will, are tools. And when we look at these three circles that are all overlapping, we're looking at the synergy of how people can use information-based technology tools to do some things that would be helpful for an organization. And these include achieving a competitive advantage, do things cheaper and faster, increase revenue, and innovate new processes. So information technology can provide tools, but it's the mind that allows one to fully take advantage of what the tools can do. So people are important, the technology is important, the information is important, but without the people, it's probably all for naught. There are some discussion activities associated with this module, and as you read through the two reading assignments from the two different texts, these are a couple of things to think about. One is to think of one example of a management information system and explain that system, the one that you've selected, in terms of people, information, and information technology. The second discussion activity is to discuss an example related to healthcare management or education to differentiate Web 1 or 1.0 from Web 2.0 in terms of participant use as well as applications. And you might think of various applications, but try to keep them focused to healthcare management or education purposes for the sake of this discussion activity. Thanks a lot. I look forward to reading your discussion posts on our course website. Enjoy the day. Bye.